Hi, this is Frida. Welcome to my channel. For today's tutorial, I will be demonstrating how to knit the Aran sweater sleeves. How to cast on, how to do the twist, one knit, one purl, and then honeycomb, cable stitch, and then one knit purl, the moss stitch. So let's get started. I have cast on total of 40 stitches, and I am going to also put the link that I have did a tutorial on how to cast on this tubular cast on method. And I did the tutorial. I have included the twisted knit and purl, but I am going to show you. This is going to be our last row. I have knitted all the way, so I have knitted total of 9 rows. If you count, you will see that sorry about that, something fell. I have knitted total of 9 rows. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. And now I am going to start knitting the Aran sweater sleeve pattern. So okay. So what we're going to do is I have wrote down a note of how to knit it for the Aran. So it's going to be 40 stitches, 9 rows of knit and purl. And now we're going to change our knitting needles. These are smaller needles. It depends on how tight you want and how you want the wrist area where this is going to be laying. So I used these are 8. It's 8 or 5.00 millimeter knitting needles. So I am using these are Addi. I think they're about 8 or 7. The numbers have erased. So this is what I knit on top. So what we're going to do is we're going to start knitting. So I'm going to knit. Well, this one I'm not going to knit. So I'm just going to purl one. These two are supposed to be 2 purl stitches. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be knitting the cable stitch. So I work with the 2-2. So I use a crochet hook, or you can use your cable tool. Let me see if I can find it. Here is my cable tool that I use. If I can't find it, I just use a crochet hook. It just helps you while you're knitting it. It makes it easier. Okay, so let's put these back. It fell off. Okay, so I am going to start knitting. Wanted to show before here it is. So we did 2 purl, and later on we're going to be increasing. I do it every 4 or 5. It depends on the length. So 2 knit, 4 stitches of cable stitch. Then we're gonna do well. Everything's falling down. I was at IKEA yesterday. We were buying our son office supplies. He built a table, a corner table. So I saw this on sale. This cubicle. It has 2, 4, 6, 8. So I was trying to organize the yarn that I have in this room, and these fell. So I'm trying to be organized as I can, but it's not easy when you have so much yarn. See, I have my Angoras up there, and you know that I have a full room of my basement containers full of yarn downstairs in the basement. They're staying there nice and cool while it's so hot up here. Yeah, the weathers are getting warm, but in Edmonton it's crazy because it does get cold. It starts to rain. When it rains, it gets cooler. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to be doing 2 purl stitch, and then we're going to do the knit on the back to give that purl stitch, and we're going to do 4 stitches of knit and create the cable. And then we're going to do 2 purl stitch, and we're going to do honeycomb. So if you don't know how to do a honeycomb, I will teach you how to do it. It's easy and simple. It's like cable stitches. So we need 24 stitches here total to create this honeycomb stitch. And then we're going to repeat 2 purl, 4 knit to make the cable stitch, and then 2 stitches of purl. And what cable stitch is, we just move around the stitches to give this gorgeous 3D look. See? Okay, so I just want to point that out to show you what we're working on. So just put this down, and then I hope nothing else will fall. Yeah, here we go. So, okay. For yeah, because the 2 stitch will always fall because it's at the end, because I'm not holding. I wanted to get those square needles. They say they don't fall. But here in Canada, we have to pay custom fees, and it's so expensive. Everything builds up. So what we did is, I just put the 2 stitches here, they're resting, and then I'm going to be just knit the 2 stitches, and I'm going to see, I grabbed it from here, and you need it too pointy. That's why I said you can use a crochet hook, or even a toothpick would work. And then knit the remaining 2 stitches, and then we're going to do the 2 purl stitch. And then we're going to work on the honeycomb stitch. So this honeycomb stitch works with 2 stitches, same as the cable stitch, the stitch that we did. So we're just going to grab the 2 like we did the cable stitch and put this here, so they're going to rest here. And we're going to knit. We're going to use the knit method. So we're going to have our yarn on the back. And then knit 2. Yeah, everyone's mowing their their lawn. And if you hear that sound, that's our neighbor mowing their lawn. Okay, I waited for her to stop, but unfortunately it's gonna go forever. So I have to knit. This is going to fly to Australia. So we're gonna knit these 2. I don't have time to wait. Okay, so we did this. As you can see, it's facing towards this way, and what we're going to do is we're going to make it facing this way to give that honeycomb 3D look. So this time we're going to grab the 2 stitches as we did. We're going to be having it rest on the back, so just have it rest at the back, and then we're going to be knitting 2 stitches like this. And then we're going to grab those 2 stitches. Like this. So we have we have a set of the honeycomb. This is the middle. And we're going to make another honeycomb. So there's 8 stitches here. So grab the 2, and we're going to have this facing towards this way. See, the first one we had it facing this way, and the second was facing towards. So if you hold it, this one will face left, this one will face right. So we're going to repeat this one. So this one's going to face towards left. So knit the 2 stitches. Honeycomb works with multiple of 4 stitches. So it always has to be 4, 4, 4 to create honeycomb stitches. And if you want to have it set, then it would be 8 stitches. And then knit the 2. Okay, can you see? Okay, so we're going to repeat this one that we did the second one. Put that at the back. We're just doing a knit stitch. That's all to it, nothing else. But we're playing around with our stitches, putting it on the front and putting it on the back to create the honeycomb stitch. And knit those 2 stitches that we put on the back. Okay, see? So we're going to make another, just to give that, see? So we're going to make another set. So we did 1, we did 2nd, now we're going to do the 3rd. Here. So we're going to repeat the number 1, and then we're going to repeat number 2. Knit 2, and then knit the 2 stitches that are resting on the front. The 2 stitches. Oops. Yeah, I'm knitting with 2 strands, so one of the strand came off. Here we go. So knit the 2. Okay, so we're done the honeycomb. Now we're gonna knit 2, purl 2, I'm sorry. And we're going to make a cable here with the 4 stitches. So we're going to have the 2 stitches on the front. And we're going to be knitting these 2 stitches that are on the front. Okay, so we're done with the cables for this row, and we're going to knit the remaining 2. Okay, so we did the front. We're done. It's going to be a little bit tight because we took this, the needles that were small. So now we have bigger needles, and this is going to give more, it's going to look better. Okay, so what we're going to do is, I don't knit the first stitch. I usually don't, but sometimes you have to. But for this one, knit 2 if you're knitting, And then what we're going to do is we're going to do purl, 4 stitches of purl that we did the cable stitch that we knit from the front, and we're going to purl the yarn on the front, 3, 4, and then we're going to knit 2 stitches. And the 24 stitches that we did the honeycomb, we knit it from the front, so we're going to purl, having our yarn on the front, and we're going to be purling those 24 stitches. So this is how we set up. Setups are always sometimes difficult if you're new. Okay. So after purling the 24 stitches, we're going to do 2 knit and then 4 purl for the cable stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we did the purl stitch, so we're going to do 2 knits. Okay, so we're going to repeat, but this time we're just going to knit on the cable stitch. We're not going to change, we're not going to use our cable tool. So we're just going to see what, we're going to knit what we see. That's all for this row. That's all we're going to do. Okay, we're on the second row and we're just going to be knitting the 2 stitches. Purling the 2 stitches, I'm sorry, and then knitting the following 4 stitches. This is the 4 stitches are the cable. And we're going to be purling the 2 stitches. Yarn on the front. And then knit the 24 stitches that we did. Just a regular knit stitch for the honeycomb. Okay, so I'll be purling yarn on the front for the 2 stitches and knitting for the 4 stitches and purling yarn on the front for the 2 stitches. Okay, before I knit the wrong side of the work, I forgot to mention about my yarn. I did mention when I did the cast on tutorial for the tubular, but the yarn that I'm using is, I bought this from South America online. This is merino blend of cashmere yarn. It is super soft, and this is my last yarn that I have in this bucket, so I think this is going to be the last. So I don't know if they sell it again. It's really hard to find because I bought these a couple of years ago. And I bought a huge box from her. We'll see if I can find more, but I wanted to mention this yarn. It is gorgeous, super soft. And I don't think she sells them because I can't find her link. Yeah, it's like trying to find Angora Rabbit. This lady from Chile was selling it, but her bunnies died, so she no longer sells Angora Rabbit yarn. It's really tough to find good quality yarn. Okay, so we're on the wrong side of the work, and what we're going to do is we're going to increase 1 stitch from here and 1 stitch from the other, because for the sleeve we do have to increase. As you can see, you have to increase, because from your wrist up to your underarm, your arm gets bigger. Okay, so knit the first stitch, or I just slip it, or what I do is I grab it from here because this is at the edge, or if you knit, you can knit this and do a stitch like this. So don't take it off. Have your stitch on the needle, don't remove it. So go from here, from the back, and grab a stitch. Or you can increase it like this as well. Here's another increase that you can make. Either way it works. Okay, so knit, and we're going to be purling the 4 stitches. Those are the cable stitches. And then we're going to be knitting the 2 stitches that are between the cable and the honeycomb. And on the front we did the purl stitch. So we're going to be purl stitching the wrong side for 24 stitches, the yarn on the front. So just this is how you purl stitch. I hope, like, I am doing the tutorial as you are a couple of years of knitting. For new knitters, I don't do a tutorial for new knitters, so if I'm going fast, then you can pause it, go back and view it again. Because I'm a fast knitter, I've been knitting for 38 years and I cannot slow down, and I try to slow down. So 2 knits after the 24 purl, knit the yarn on the back, and do a purl stitch, 4 stitches. Okay, and then 2 knit stitches, so I'm going to be increasing here. And then we're back at the front. Okay, so when you look at you can see we're going to do a honeycomb here, but for the cable stitch, I'm just going to knit 1 more row. When I come back, do the wrong side, and when I come back, I'm going to be changing the stitches on the cable, but not for this row. So that's how I do my cable, and this is how I do the honeycomb. And then here we're going to be working on our honeycomb stitches. So we did, we increased, so we're not knitting this stitch, and just do a purl stitch for the 2, and then knit the 4 remaining, just regular knit stitch, and do a purl stitch, 2 stitches. Okay, so for the cable, for the honeycomb, I'm just going to grab my cable tool here. So remember how we did this? This was on the front. This time, this was on the front, so we had it face towards the left side. So this time we're going to do the opposite. So we're going to put the 2 cables resting on the back, and we're going to knit the 2. I am so sorry about the sound. I hope it's not that loud. So knit the 2 that are resting. Okay, so this is how it looks so far. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab our tool and have this. So have this resting on the front. So we're doing the opposite what we did at the first row. Okay, so we're going to knit the following 2 stitches. And then we're going to knit the one that are resting on the front. Okay, so we're gonna knit. So we rested the 2 stitches on the back, and we're gonna knit the 2 stitches, and then we're gonna knit the one that are resting on the back. Oh, it came off great. Okay, so it happens, it will happen, not to worry. So these are at the back, so I'm just going to grab them from with my needles here. Here they are. Okay. Try to. Here we go. Save them. It will happen. Just slide off so easily. Okay, so this is how it will look like. So just knit the 2, and you can see the honeycombs are becoming. Okay, so we're going to have the 2 stitches on the front. You will see this was on the front and this was on the back. So knit those 2 and knit the 2 that are resting on the front. Knit the 2. And knit the ones that are resting on the back. So this is the last. As you can see, this one and this one's going to be alone, but these 2 are a pair of 8 stitches, 8 stitches. Okay, so I have these, and knit the ones that are on the back, and knit the ones that are on the front. Okay, so we're done the cable stitch, so we're just gonna knit the rest. So purl, oops, fix this here, purl the 2 stitches, knit the 4 stitches, and purl the 3 stitches, the remaining 3. Okay, so from the wrong side, you're gonna knit what you see, as we did on the previous. Nothing wrong, and I'll meet you at the back to create the cable stitch. And we're just gonna do the regular knit stitch on this honeycomb. Okay, so I'm at the front. I knitted the back as I just regularly knit what you see. And then here we're going to be, so after you do this row, you can start increasing from here. Or if you want to increase from the front, you can do it that way. I'll show you how to increase from the front too. Like, it doesn't have to be a purl, it doesn't have to be a knit stitch. Okay, so what I do is I just grab this stitch, this purl stitch here, and I'm just gonna knit it. Yeah, just knit that stitch, and that's how I increase it here. So knit these 2. So when you're doing the back, this is knit. This should be a purl knit. So for further up when you start knitting, so you're going to start that knit 1, purl 1 stitch. So we have more than 3 stitches here. You can start that too as well. So we're going to just knit the 4 stitches because I don't have to change the stitches for the cable stitch. So after knitting this one, I will knit the wrong side, and when I come back I will continue knitting. I'm not going to change the stitches as we did here. Okay, so we're going to be working on the honeycomb, purl the 2 stitches, yarn on the front, and just grab your cable stitch. Okay, so remember we had the 2 yarn on the front, the 2 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to have these 2 stitches and have it rest on the front, and we're going to knit the 2 stitches on the back. That looks like on the back. So this stitch is going to be facing left, towards left. Okay, as you can see. Okay, so we're going to grab this, and then we're going to, so this is going to be facing, this stitch is going to be facing right. So grab the 2 stitches, and this stitch is going to rest on the back, and knit these 2 stitches. And then grab those 2 stitches from the back and knit those 2 stitches. And you can see the honeycomb this is how we create the honeycomb. So we're just repeating what we did at the first row. Okay, for the second set of honeycombs, we're going to be having the 2 stitches on the front. And we're going to knit the remaining 2 stitches. And then come back and knit the 2 stitches. Okay, so we're going to grab the 2 stitches on the back and then knit the 2 stitches. And then knit those 2 stitches that are on the back. Okay, see, we have 2 sets of honeycomb. Now we're creating the third one. I think I was 18 or 19 when I made a sweater. It was just honeycombs with white merino wool. Super soft. It was super soft. It ended up going to my brother. He was, I think, 7 then. And then at the end, it ended up going to my grandmother. She loved it. She loved it. Yeah. So I love working with honeycomb stitches. I like playing around. I like the 3D look. Okay. So we're going to do the last one. And have the 2 stitches on the cable tool and have it rested on the back, and knit the 2 stitches, and then go back and grab those 2 stitches that are resting on the tool, and then knit those 2, and we're done. We're done the honeycomb. Doesn't that look nice? Your finger can go in there. We just need the bees to make honey. Okay, so knit a purl the 2 stitches, purlwise yarn on the front, and knit yarn on the back the 4 stitches. And then we're going to be knitting, but we're going to be increasing. Remember, we did increase. So I'm just going to go like this. And I'm going to, I can do it this way. There's so many ways to increase. See, I can increase it like this too, creating a purl stitch. And now we have 4 stitches. Okay, so when I turn my back, I'll just show you before. So these, after the 2 stitches, we have to change this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to be, so this is 2 knit stitch. We're going to do a purl stitch here. So this is going to be a knit stitch, and we're going to do a purl stitch, and then knit the 2. And then when we come to the front, we did a knit stitch here. We're going to do a purl stitch. So it's always the opposite opposite what you do. So continue knitting as long as you want, and don't forget to increase every four rows, or I don't know, 5 rows, depending on your arm. Measure your arm around, measure your bicep where the fattest part of your arm is, and measure how comfortable you want it, or one of your sweaters that you wear, and continue knitting as long as you want. I'm going to be knitting total of 22 rows, 22 inches, I'm sorry. And so this is the back to here, and I'll meet you up here that we're going to be binding off to create that underarm. And this is going to be a raglan, like a raglan. That's usually what Aran sweaters look like. So I'll show you how to decrease up to here, and then we're going to sew this up on the body, the front and the back. See, and then you can measure if you did the front first. Okay, so I'll let you go and continue knit as long as you want, and I will meet you up here. Okay, we're at the right side of the knitting, and what we're going to do is we're going to be knitting 3 stitches of purl stitch yarn on the front, and then we're going to be making the cable stitch. So I'm just going to grab my cable tool and just get the 2 stitches on the front. When you're doing a cable stitch, I put the first 2 stitches on the front always for this particular cable stitch, and then knit the 2, and then come back and knit the one that is resting on the cable tool. I guess that's what's it called, cable tool, cable knitting needle. Okay, so this is how the cable is knit. So this is what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to be knitting so many stitches and then making the cable stitch. For this one, we did 1 row of knit, and then for the second on the front we did the honeycomb. But for this one, for the cable stitch, we do 2 knitting on the front. I'm not counting the back. If you count the back, that would be 4 rows. Okay, so for this stitch, I'm just going to knit regular as what I see. And when I do the wrong side of the work, when I come back, I am going to be doing the honeycomb. So changing the stitches, front, back, front, back. Okay, and what you can do is, how we did it on the first row, we're going to repeat that same, which you see is what you're going to be doing. Oh, sorry, my camera is playing with me. Okay, so we're going to knit purl the 2 stitches that we see, yarn on the front, and we're going to have our yarn on the back and just do the regular knit stitch, total of 24 stitches. So this is all to it. So you can knit as long up to your underarm, and that's how when you're increasing up to your underarm. So for this, she's a medium size, so I always knit, for Aran sweater, I always knit a size up, because there's supposed to be room, right? So it has to be. I always knit 1 size up to create that look when you wear it, so it can be comfortable. Okay, so 22 inches I'm going to be knitting up to underarm. And when you sew, and then after sewing, it will shrink a little bit, not much. It shouldn't be shrinking that much, but yeah, so 22 inches underarm. If it's a small size, extra small, I knit 18 to 20 inches till underarm. Okay. gonna, after knitting the 24 stitches, I'm going to be purl stitching the 2 stitches, and I'm at that cable stitch. So I need my tool again. So I'm just gonna grab the 2 stitches from the front like this, have it rest, and then knit the 2 stitches and then come back and knit those 2 stitches that are resting on the front. My camera. And then purl yarn on the front the 3 remaining stitches. So I'm going to let you go and knit as long as you want, and I will come up to the underarm and then continue increasing. Yes, you have to increase on the sides. I do it every 4 rows as here, as you can see. Let me see. See? And when you're increasing, after the 2 purl stitch, you're going to do 1 knit, 1 purl, 1 knit, 1 purl, 1 knit, 1 purl, and then when you increase, this is going to increase to this side. It's just 1 knit, 1 purl, and when you're doing the back, what you see, if you see a purl stitch, you knit. If you see a knit stitch, you do a purl stitch. It's the opposite. Okay, so knit as long as you want. And you just repeat what we did. It's the first row. This is the first row that I just showed at the beginning. And then we did the second. So when you're doing this top one, you're going to repeat this one having the cable on the front. So maybe when I come back, I'll show you another so you won't get confused. Just a repeat. So it stands like it's going this way. See? Yeah. So this is going to repeat itself, and then when you go, it's repeat, and this would be repeating this, so it's just a repeat. And then you increase. I increase up to 22 inches, and this is how I had the stitches, how many stitches. And like I said, this is a medium size that I'm working. Medium to large size can wear this sweater. So it's comfortable. Even a small size, if you want it slouchy, like big, even a small size can wear this. So I will, first I'll knit another row, and I'll show you to do this third honeycomb that we're going to be making. 1, 2, 3. I'll show you there. Okay. Okay, so I'm at the front. I knitted the back as I just regularly knit what you see. And then here we're going to be, so after you do this row, you can start increasing from here. Or if you want to increase from the front, you can do it that way. I'll show you how to increase from the front too. Like, it doesn't have to be a purl, it doesn't have to be a knit stitch. Okay, so what I do is I just grab this stitch, this purl stitch here, and I'm just gonna knit it. Yeah, just knit that stitch, and that's how I increase it here. So knit these 2. So when you're doing the back, this is knit knit. This should be a purl knit. So for further up when you start knitting. So you're going to start that knit 1, purl 1 stitch. So we have more than 3 stitches here. You can start that too as well. So we're going to just knit the 4 stitches, because I don't have to change the stitches for the cable stitch. So after knitting this one, I will knit the wrong side, and when I come back, I will continue knitting. I'm not going to change the stitches as we did here. Okay, so we're going to be working on the honeycomb. Purl the 2 stitches, yarn on the front, and just grab your cable stitch. Okay, so remember we had the 2 yarn on the front, the 2 stitches. So what we're going to do is we're going to have these 2 stitches and have it rest on the front, and we're going to knit the 2 stitches on the back. That looks like on the back. So this stitch is going to be facing left, towards left. Okay, as you can see. Okay, so we're going to grab this, and then we're going to, so this is going to be facing, this stitch is going to be facing right. So grab the 2 stitches, and this stitch is going to rest on the back, and knit these 2 stitches. And then grab those 2 stitches from the back and knit those 2 stitches. And you can see the honeycomb this is how we create the honeycomb. So we're just repeating what we did at the first row. Okay, for the second set of honeycombs, we're going to be having the 2 stitches on the front. And we're going to knit the remaining 2 stitches. And then come back and knit the 2 stitches. Okay, so we're going to grab the 2 stitches on the back and then knit the 2 stitches. And then knit those 2 stitches that are on the back. Okay, see, we have 2 sets of honeycomb. Now we're creating the third one. I made I think I was 18 or 19 when I made a sweater. It was just honeycombs with white merino wool. Super soft, it was super soft. It ended up going to my brother. He was, I think, 7 then. And then at the end, it ended up going to my grandmother. She loved it. She loved it. Yeah. So I love working with honeycomb stitches. I like playing around. I like the 3D look. Okay. So we're going to do the last one. The last, and have the 2 stitches on the cable tool and have it rested on the back, and knit the 2 stitches, and then go back and grab those 2 stitches that are resting on the tool, and then knit those 2, and we're done. We're done the honeycomb. Doesn't that look nice? Your finger can go in there. We just need the bees to make honey. Okay, so knit a purl, the 2 stitches, purlwise yarn on the front, and knit yarn on the back, the 4 stitches. And then we're going to be knitting, but we're going to be increasing. Remember, we did increase. So I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to, I can do it this way. There's so many ways to increase. See, I can increase it like this too, creating a purl stitch. And now we have 4 stitches. Okay, so when I turn my back, I'll just show you before. So these, after the 2 stitches, we have to change this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to be, so this is 2 knit stitch. We're going to do a purl stitch here. So this is going to be a knit stitch, and we're going to do a purl stitch, and then knit the 2. And then when we come to the front, we did a knit stitch here. We're going to do a purl stitch. So it's always the opposite what you do. So continue knitting as long as you want, and don't forget to increase every 4 rows, or I don't know, 5 rows. depending on your arm. Measure your arm around, measure your bicep where the fattest part of your arm is, and measure how comfortable you want it, or one of your sweaters that you wear, and continue knitting as long as you want. I'm going to be knitting total of 22 rows, 22 inches, I'm sorry. And so this is the back to here, and I'll meet you up here that we're going to be binding off to create that underarm. And this is going to be a raglan, like a raglan. That's usually what Aran sweaters look like. So I'll show you how to decrease up to here, and then we're going to sew this up on the body, the front and the back. See, and then you can measure if you did the front first. Okay, so I'll let you go and continue knit as long as you want, and I will meet you up here. I have knitted all the way to the underarm. This is the sleeve part that we've been knitting. Okay, so I am here at this point. I am right here. Oops. Here we go. I am right here. So I am going to be binding off a couple of stitches. So what I do is I do 3, 2, 1, and then I continue binding off every one stitch. So I do 3, I knit, I do 3 here, bind off, and I come here, I knit, I do 2, and then I knit back here, I do 2, and then I come back, I do 1, go back 1, and then I continue knitting, binding off 1 stitches all the way up to here. And I don't, like, I measure, right? So the important part is measuring. So after the certain measurement, I just bind off all at once, and I start sewing. Okay, so let's start binding off on the sleeve area. So this is how I do the bind off. I knit the 2 stitch, I purl yarn on the front. You can do, you can have the yarn on the back, either way. But this is how I do it. I knit 2 together, and I put the stitch back to the needle, and I knit another 2 together. Put the stitch back, and then another one. So there's a total of 3 stitches that I have bind off. This is how it looks like. And then I just continue knitting all the way here, and then we will bind off 3 stitches when we're going back on the wrong side, when we're knitting the wrong side. Yeah. Okay, so just, by now you should be a professional how to do the cable stitches and the honeycomb. If not, I will just show you demonstrate how to do it one more time. As this video is going to be a long tutorial, so I am doing it separately. I did my first tutorial was tubular, how to cast on tubular on the 2 cast on that I have demonstrated on the sleeve and on the body. And then this is the second of the video that I am demonstrating how to knit the sleeve, and I will be knitting the body. Well, I have already knit one of the body up to underarm, up to the neck area, so I will demonstrate how to do that as well. So hopefully there will be 3 videos to complete this Aran sweater, because it takes me approximately 2+ weeks, about 3 weeks to knit the Aran sweater. So it is very time consuming because of it is really fun. It is fun. So you will enjoy knitting this. But like I said, it is time consuming because you are playing around with the stitches. You're moving them around like this. So we had the 2 stitches on the front, that's how you do the cable stitch. and then knit those 2 stitches. Okay, so this is a 4 stitch cable. So I'm just going to knit the 2 stitches, and I am going to do the honeycomb. Just grab the 2 stitches from the back. So this is what you see, what you do. See, this is on the front, so we're just going to knit these 2. Yarn on the back, and then knit the 2 stitches that are resting on the cable needle here. Okay, and then, so do you see these? This is on the front, so we're going to put that on the front, those 2 stitches. Uh-oh, my tool just fell. Oopsie. Here we go. Then you just put the 2 stitches on the front, resting there, and then you knit the 2 remaining that are on the back. As you can see, they're on the back. It looks like on the back. It gives you that 3D look. And this is how you do the honeycomb. So continue knitting, and I'll meet you at the other end when we're going to be binding off total of 3 stitches. I am at the beginning of the wrong side of the sleeve, so I'm just going to knit these 2 together. So whatever we did at the other side, we're going to repeat it. Just to repeat, we're binding off 2 stitches, knit 2 together, put the stitch on back to the needle, knit 2 together. You can, if you don't like this method, you can do what you do. This is how I do bind off, and this is how I do the sleeve area. So 3 stitches, and I will let you continue knitting. So when you come here, you're going to bind off 2. When you come back here, you're going to bind off 2, and then when you come here, you're going to bind off 1 and then 1, and I will come up. We're going to knit a little bit, about 3 inches more, and then yeah, let me measure you and show you the other sleeve, how long you're going to be knitting. Actually, it's not 3 stitches. I do apologize. It is about 7 inches, not stitches. 7 inches. Get closer. This is how it looks like. About 7 inches. So knit about 7 more inches. So from the start, when you started to bind off 3, 2, 1, and then continue binding off every 1 stitches up to when you start the honeycomb. When you do the 2 purls, we're done. You will be binding off the cable stitch here. And then you will do the 2 stitches, 2 purl stitches, and then when you come up there, we're going to bind up all the way, all the stitches at once. So from the starting from the underarm, here we go. So knit about total of 7 stitches, and I will meet you up here. I have knitted total of 7 inches from the underarm, and now we're going to do is we're going to be binding off the remaining stitches that are on the needle. So when you measure all the way where you started to bind off the 3 stitches, you will have total of 7 inches long. Okay, so kind of blurry. Let me fix this. Okay, so I will be binding off, knit 2 together, and then slide the stitch to the needle and knit 2 together. This is how I bind off. So if you have a different method, you can bind off the way you bind off. I know some There's so many ways to bind off, I can tell you that. Okay, so after this is the second sleeve that I have knitted, so I have already cast it on when I was doing the demonstration for the tubular cast on. So I have cast on a total of 80 stitches. I do 80 stitches for back and front. So you can cast on 80 stitches, and if you watch the how to cast on tubular, I will put the link below, and then you can follow the instructions. Or you can just cast on regular the way you cast on, and then knit one purl doing the twist method, because for the Aran sweater you have to do the twist one knit one purl, and I do have a demonstration at the beginning I showed on this tutorial, and for the tubular cast on how to do the twist. It's very easy. Instead of picking the stitches from here, you pick it from the back and you twist it. That's how it's been done. Almost done here. I don't know how many stitches I have. Well, I had 24 on the honeycomb and 2 on the 2 purl, so 28 stitches total. And this is how you do the sleeves. Just wanted to share this tutorial how to knit the Aran sweater. Okay, so we're almost done here. Okay, so what we do is just done, and what I do is I just do a double, just grab my yarn, and I just cut this off nicely, and then I weave the end, so no big deal. Okay, and then we will be sewing these two to the back and front that we're going to be knitting, and I'll show you how to do that as well at the end of the second video that I am going to be doing the tutorial on how to knit the body, the front and the back. Okay, so thank you very much for watching my tutorial. I really appreciate it, and please share it with your family and friends, and if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. You will have a notification when you subscribe when I post a YouTube tutorial. And happy knitting!